He is Mr. President. He's President of the Union. Mr. President, I was kidding him. You know, the only thing harder than being President of the Union is being the mayor of a beautiful city. Folks, thanks for taking the time to be here.
Like, it's instrumental and it's integral. Of course, we have conversations like this on our own, but to have this platform and this stage to amplify our voices is amazing. We can express our concerns. We can express our stories. We just need to. Like, this platform is a wonderful opportunity for us to say the things that we need to say. And right now, in this particular moment, America is listening. Not only America, but the world is listening. And so to have this opportunity is truly, truly, one, it's inspiring, but very instrumental and necessary. The pandemic it is what it is, and it has taken its toll on a lot of black businesses for a lot of different reasons. But maybe this is the change we need, right? It's the start of it, having those conversations. So here we are to take away from today. Being that the audience is full of black entrepreneurs, understand that we are here, that we are present, that we contribute so much to America, to the place that he calls home. Continue to see us, continue to listen to us, and even if you don't necessarily understand because you are a white man, let's continue to have the transparent and authentic conversations. I think that's the start of every real relationship, honestly.
My name is Sabrina Collier. My husband and I, Chef Greg Collier, own restaurants here in Charlotte, one Uptown Yoke and one here in Camp North and Leah and Louise. And as you know, the restaurants have been hit severely hard the past, would it be 7 months now? And a lot of us, which are small business owners and small minority business owners, didn't receive as much relief nationally. The city of Charlotte has been amazing with offering grants and things that we can float us over and still pay our employees, but we still had to cut staff. We still had to cut hours. What would be the relief for us small business owners, specifically restaurants? Is there a plan to give us some type of relief? I don't know, a tax cut, anything?
Yes, there's a big plan to do it. There's a multiple plans. First of all, the CARES Act, which passed out of the House and Senate, which was a total of $2 trillion overall, twice, was supposed to provide what they called the Main Street Lending Program. For 4 months, it didn't lend a penny. None of the money went out, number one. Because you got 20 Republicans in the Senate who said they don't want to spend anything on anything, for real. And the president, who has, as I said, fired the inspector general, so you don't know where the money's going for certain. Secondly, on the early program for small businesses, and the small business is defined of fewer than 50 employees. Now, most small businesses that are neighborhood small businesses are 10 or fewer employees. And so what I propose is we focus on making sure that the money goes directly to those businesses that in fact provide for, be able to keep their employees on the payroll for the 10 or fewer employees. That's a priority, and then 50 and under. But here's what's happened. What's happened is that not only has that not occurred, a lot of the money has gone to very big businesses that didn't need, they may need it, but they didn't need it to stay alive. And even when they got it, what did they do? The commitment was that I proposed, and we thought we had done, is that right now, if you get a government bailout, quote unquote, loan to stay alive, what you cannot do is take that money and either buy back your own stock and or increase your salaries with that money. It's to keep people employed, keep them on a payroll. Secondly, there's another program, and that's what a lot of the businesses have done. They buy back their own stock, increasing the net worth of the people who own the stock, and in fact pay their salaries based on stock. So they should not be allowed to do that, number one, in this with government money bailing people out. Secondly, a lot of you don't know the circumstance, and there's no national standards to how to open. How do you open safely? The president says, just put up a sign, come on in. Well, you know your employee, beyond your employees, your customers are going to go, I don't know, does everybody have the have to have the mask, or they have dividers in the restaurant, or they have, tell me how the sanitary conditions are working. Well, you need money to pay for all that stuff. And that's why we propose to have a multi-billion-dollar program where businesses are able to get the money, not borrow the money, get the money to be able to open in the middle of this pandemic, including fixing the testing fiasco. You should be in a situation where your employees can, in 24 hours, get a test to determine whether or not they're positive or negative. You need to do that for your own protection, and the public needs to know that is protection for their employer, that their protection against anything that happens in your restaurant. So the bottom line is the money is already there. The president is just not releasing it. The department is not releasing the money. And it's all done in order to be able to keep the economy moving. Right now we have over 30 million people on unemployment. Over 30 million on unemployment. How in God's name are we going to generate economic growth unless we can figure out how to keep these people back and help you get back in business? It's the same way with schools. How many schools are not opening because there are no national standards set? No national standards set. For example, there's an outfit. Am I telling you too much? You want me to stop? I really get it. This drives me crazy. Right now, we're in a situation where if you take a look, there is no national standard for how to open schools, how to open them safely. Because the president says, I have no responsibility. It's not my responsibility. I mean, literally, that's his phrase. It's not my responsibility. I'm not to blame for any of this. Let the governors or the mayors take care of it. And everybody, and then without the financial help that's needed to be able to take care of it. And so, what we need to do, I've laid out in detail back in July, what we'd have to do to open safely. And includes providing the protective PPE, the mask, and other things that are needed, gloves, etc., for the schools, the school teachers, and for the children coming to school. Secondly, you have to reduce the number of students in one room. You have to have modules that are smaller. But for that, you need more teachers, not fewer teachers. You got to pay more teachers. Number three, you've got to be able to sanitize the schools, whether it's everything from the water fountain to the laboratory, or just the surfaces that are touched and what is breathed on by people. That costs a lot of money to do that, like it would for a restaurant as well, if you'd have to do that. And so the money is there available to do that, but the president refuses. What he says is just open up and make sure that, just schools should just open up. When a lot of and it also relates to how far down you've got the reinfection rate. If it's down below 1, then it's rational. You can, with those protections, go ahead and open a school. But watch it very closely, but it requires testing and tracing to make sure you're still on course there. And look, the other thing is that if you think about it, the FEMA, the Federal Emergency, they had agreed that they were going to provide masks for schools. They started to hand them out to schools. Guess what? The president didn't like it, or somebody didn't like that. So they said the ruling was made, opening schools safely is not a national emergency. So they stopped it, refusing to even provide masks for schools because it's not a national emergency. Well, if this isn't a national emergency, I don't know what the hell is. So the way we're doing this is the way, I'll end with this. The president was in Ohio, I guess a couple of days ago at a rally. I don't want to misquote him. And he said at the rally, and I wrote this down, he said that we're virtually turned the corner. Nobody is really dying. He said, elderly people are dying, and they're dying because they have heart conditions or other, but quote, they're virtually nobodies. They're the ones dying. So you go home and your mom's gone, your dad's gone. He's a virtual nobody? The idea, the way we're talking about people, And this is all within our power to do something. The virus wasn't his fault, but the way he's handled it has been close to criminal. And so many people breaking their necks. And by the way, my deceased wife, when I first got married, I married a beautiful woman from Syracuse, New York, Atlas, New York, and I got elected when I was 29 years old. I come from a very modest family. I was not bragging about it, but I was listening to the poorest man in Congress for 36 years because I didn't think you were supposed to earn any money while you're there other than your salary. And then when I got elected vice president, one of the press outlets said it's probable no man has ever assumed the office of vice president with fewer assets than Joe Biden. I hope they weren't talking intellectual assets. And so, but when I got elected when I was 29, I was in Washington before I was sworn in, and I got a phone call from my fire department saying my wife and daughter had just been killed, and my 2 boys were not likely to make it. Tractor trailer broadside of the Weller Christmas show. And at the time, my wife's father, my father-in-law, he came home from World War II, and he had owned a restaurant. He was a cook in World War II in the Navy, and he ended up opening up a restaurant in a place called Auburn, New York, a town of about 20,000 people just south of Syracuse. And it became the meeting place for everybody. It's a place that doctors would start off the morning, getting their coffee, and lawyers would have their lunch, and kids after graduations would come to this called Hunter Diner On, and then he opened up other restaurants. And in order to try to convince me to stay, I don't blame him, I do the same with my daughter, try to convince me after we graduated to take a job in upstate New York rather than go back to Delaware. He offered me his prize diner that was, and he was making at that time, I would have made 5 times what I made as a lawyer. The starting lawyer salary was $6 grand, and it was $30,000 a year. But the problem was for 5 years, I watched how hard he worked. I don't know how you do it. You gotta love it. Even in good times, you think you're crazy. It's 24 hours a day. But you deserve a break, and your employees deserve a break. And the fact you're fighting so hard to keep them on a job is a testament to the kind of people you are. But I promise you, I guarantee you, if I'm elected, you'll get both the PPE, you'll get also the money to be able to open, and the additional money, not only to maintain your employees, but to maintain an open place that you in fact can. I've met with a lot of restaurateurs up and around the country, so they can open up and do everything from having plastic shields in front of the cashiers to a lot of things you can do to make it safe. Make it safe, and you'll get the help.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Outside of getting to meet VP Biden and being, how wonderful that was, we needed an answer because a lot of us in the restaurant community right now are, we're hanging on by a thread, a lot of us. Specifically, you go into the black small business owners and restaurant owners, a lot of people didn't have the access to the PPP loan and certain grants because maybe the city was great about hey, apply for this grant, innovation fund, access to capital, but some people probably weren't able to get to it. And then on the national level with PPP, we know how that was fumbled on by certain banks, by shuffling applications, and small black businesses weren't able to, specifically a lot of the restaurants. So we wanted some type of indication that there is a light at the end of the tunnel for a lot of the restaurants that are just struggling and trying to hold on.
You honored me and my family by sending a video tribute to my sister, Cynthia Graham Hurd.
Oh my Lord, I apologize.
No.
I didn't know.
No. Who was, killed at the Emmanuel AME Church in Charleston. And so my question is, how do you reimagine the Justice Department and specifically the Civil Rights Division after 4 years of Trump?
Well, first of all, and I guess I'll just say it, this has been the most corrupt administration in modern American history. The Justice Department has turned into the president's private law firm. He actually has him representing him on women who accuse him of rape, and where's that come from? And the Justice Department under my administration will be totally independent of me. I will not direct them who to prosecute, how to prosecute, what to prosecute, and I will not be I will not enter their decisions based upon the judgments they make about what cases they bring and they don't bring. With regard to the Civil Rights Division, I would significantly increase two things. One, the civil rights presence in the Justice Department elevated so it has access to and transparency into all police departments' activities across the country, just so they are aware, it's transparent what's going on. I would also make sure that I elevate the Justice Department, the Civil Rights Division, to have a direct office inside the White House. When, for example, I'm the guy that wrote the Violence Against Women Act. When the president asked me what I wanted as vice president, I said I want to have jurisdiction over that act inside the White House because it elevates the standing of whatever that office that comes inside the White House. So I would make sure there's a combination of the Civil Rights Division having more direct authority inside the Justice Department and being able to investigate than in fact it has now. But most of all, I would have an Attorney General who understood his oath of office, not a joke. An Attorney General has an oath of office that in fact could do and move on what the professionals in the department thought had to be pursued without my interfering and say, no, they're my friends, or they're my, I know them, or I don't, or go after this person, like, go after Hillary, or, this kind of stuff. I get asked the question all the time by the press that travels with me, although I'm not sure the same ones that are traveling today, but I get asked the following question. If in fact you get elected, would you prosecute Trump? Would you pursue prosecuting Trump? And the answer is I'm not going to pursue prosecuting anybody. I'm going to do what the Justice Department says should be done. Should be done. And not politicize it. It's the most dangerous thing that's happened so far, is the politicization of the Department of Justice. It's become the Department of Trump, and that's wrong.